Hello there, and welcome to my guide on how to defeat the Fragment of Seren at the end of Song of the Elves. This is specifically a very low-level budget / Iron Man friendly setup that I'm going in with basically the bare minimum requirements for the quest. So technically the quest only requires 75 magic, but unless you have access to a trident, I definitely recommend going in with at least 80. I'm going to have to pot in order to get to Blood Blitz, but honestly without Blood Blitz you're going to have a really hard time. I don't think Blood Burst is quite enough on its own. The only other thing that really matters is your hit points level. You'll actually have an easier time with this quest the lower your hit points are, because most of the damage is cumulative based on a special attack that hits your max HP -1. So if you can get this done before you get your HP too high, you'll have a little bit of an easier time than if you wait. The other thing that's worth mentioning is defense doesn't really matter, as pretty much all of the damage in this fight is guaranteed. Defense just helps the tiniest little bit. So it can definitely benefit you to have it higher, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be all that different of a fight, even if you only have like 40 defense versus 70. In the inventory here, I've got some pretty basic supplies. The 4 prayer potions are very important, as we're going to be using redemption to provide a little bit of extra healing, so we're going to need a lot of extra prayer than normal. The food I'm going with is pineapple pizzas. These are annoying to get, especially as an Iron Man, but I do think they're really worth it, as it's very important to be completely topped up in HP, and the fact that these are 2 bites lets you do that a little bit more accurately and preserve some food, so I definitely think it's worth going out of your way to get some of these versus just taking sharks. Finally, the last thing I'm bringing is some mithril darts, which play a very specific role in the fight that you'll see in a little bit. Finally, I don't have access to a Rune Pouch, but if you do, I highly recommend it, as obviously that will save more inventory space for food and make the fight a little bit easier. For equipment, I'm going with a very budget magic setup here. This is basically like your average mid-game setup, with a couple notable exceptions. One thing is that I've got the Unholy Book here, which can be really hard to get in an Iron Man, but if you don't have access to it, you can go ahead and get a Travelman's Shield, which provides a decent magic and prayer bonus, and is really easy to get. Another thing that's worth waiting for is doing Recipe for Disaster to get the Barrows Gloves before this fight, as they provide a nice +6 magic bonus and are really easy to get after the quest, obviously. And the last thing is, because you need 75 magic for the quest anyway, I highly recommend going out of your way and getting the Imbued God Cape before starting this fight, because it provides a lot more magic accuracy than the base cape. The key part here is actually going to be magic accuracy, so you need to get this as high as possible, because Seren actually has a pretty decent magic defense, and splashing is going to be your #1 enemy. If you're a main account, there are some ways that you can really easily increase your magic accuracy just with a little bit of money, such as buying an occult necklace or a Seer's ring. That's pretty much all there is to it though, so let's go ahead and jump on into the fight. So believe it or not, the Fragment of Seren fight is actually pretty mechanically simple. The key part is you're going to want to keep up Protect from Ranged at all times, as the ranged attack does massive damage, but it's reduced by like 75% or something when you have actual Protect from Range up. Other than that, you're just going to want to try to keep attacking Seren as much as possible by using Blood Blitz, which will heal you up. So Seren has 4 special abilities that she uses, and they all cycle through. So once you're through the cycle of all 4 one time, it'll repeat forever, basically. However, as Seren gets less and less HP, the attacks will actually get more and more strong. These attacks will take place after a random number of basic attacks from her. It could be anywhere from like 3 to 7 basic attacks, and then she'll take on a special attack. The very first one is just going to be a basic pull attack, where she teleports you right next to her and then tries to do a melee attack against you. The melee attack is actually massively damaging, and you'll want to be at least 1 tile away so you can avoid all damage from it. The counterplay here is just to click at least a tile away and then continue attacking as she does her melee attack. This is definitely the easiest of the 4 special attacks. The next special attack is going to be one where she clones herself into 2 to 4 clones, depending on how much HP she has left. The goal here is to attack the one that has a lighter colored circle underneath, which can be a little tricky to see, so it's definitely worth zooming out your camera here and making sure you've inspected each very closely before you click. The third special attack is where the special attacks actually start getting pretty important to deal with quickly. This is when she summons 3 healing tornadoes, and these can actually heal her for a lot of HP very quickly. This is where those darts come in. The darts are nice because you have 100% accuracy and 100% damage against these tornadoes, and these darts have a 2-tick attack speed. So it's a lot faster to kill them this way than with your actual blood barrage. You do have to be a little careful though, because the darts have such a short attack range, you'll be running into melee distance of Seren, so make sure you watch out for that melee attack and try to step away as much as possible as you run around the circle to attack the tornadoes. The final special attack is the one that's definitely the most consequential and probably the one that'll dictate the entire pace of the fight. So she'll lock you in place and begin charging up a massive attack that's going to hit you for basically all of your HP. This will start at your HP level level -5 while she's at max health, and go all the way up to your HP level -1 while she's under 250 health. So the goal here is to make sure you're at max health no matter what, and then throw up Redemption before the attack hits to give yourself a small boost of HP. This is definitely where the pizzas come into play because you'll be overeating a lot to make sure you're at the absolute max HP possible, and that's why the pizzas are so nice, because not only can you eat them fast, you can also only eat half if you need to. After the actual special attack hits, don't panic eat. This is actually when you want to use your blood spell to begin healing up passively as much as possible before the phases begin again. When you actually want to eat to full is right before she's about to trigger that massive attack towards you, so after the healing phase, then that's when you want to eat to full. Another thing to note here is it takes 2 doses of prayer potion to make sure your prayer is up the entire fight until she uses the massive attack at you again, which means you have to trigger Redemption and drain your prayer to 0. So after the big attack, take 2 doses of prayer potion and then make sure you get your prayers back up as fast as possible to make sure you don't take any damage from her basic attacks. And that's it. The fight will continue going in this order until you die or she dies. So as you can see, no matter how you wing it with these stats and this gear, it's going to be a pretty hard fight, but it's more than doable. So this method definitely will result in a victory, but I feel like it's less consistent and you might have a couple fails before you get lucky enough to actually get the victory. The sustainability of the food and redemption method is not quite as long as the Phoenix Necklace method, which I'll show you next. Okay, and this is the setup for method number 2. It's basically the same actual equipment, but the inventory looks a lot different. As you can tell, I've got these Phoenix Necklaces and Cave Nightshade, which you can pick up during the Watchtower quest, though they're untradeable otherwise. The key part here is we're going to be using the Phoenix Necklace ability to nullify damage to prevent most of the damage during the fight. You do need this Cave Nightshade in order to damage yourself, or if you have access to Divine Potions, because the only thing you can do while you're actually locked in place for the final attack of Seren is eat something. So you can't use like a locator orb or a rock cake to get your health down to trigger the Phoenix Necklace, and you'll see what I mean in the actual fight. So let's go ahead and jump in. So for the Phoenix Necklace method, things actually look pretty identical to the fight that you just saw. There's only one key difference, and that's how we handle the 4th special attack, or the nuke. So instead of getting our HP to max and turning on Redemption, we actually want to get our HP as low as possible and then throw on a Phoenix Necklace when she locks us in place. Right when she rises into the air, we're going to eat one of those Cave Nightshades, and that'll trigger the Phoenix Necklace to break, which will heal us up to 30% of our health and to nullify any damage for a few ticks thereafter. So you basically wind up taking no damage from the big special attack. This basically means that these Phoenix Necklaces will heal you for around your full HP level effectively because they're nullifying the damage. The only other thing worth noting is that you do need to manage your HP very carefully in this fight. If you get pretty lucky with your blood spells, you'll heal up a little bit too high because the Nightshades only hit you for 15 damage and they need to get you under 20% of your max HP. So for me at 76 HP, that meant that I needed to stay under about 30 HP for this to work. So basically what I was doing was just turning off my Protect from Range periodically to make sure that Seren could keep me under that 30 HP level. And that's pretty much all there is to this method. Alright, so as you can see, I actually got pretty bad luck with my actual magic attacks. The fight was a full minute longer than the other method, but I still had supplies to last. Even though I basically ran out of prayer at the end, the Phoenix Necklaces will get you a bit further. They're also a bit more consistent, I feel. Just in case the fight does wind up taking longer, it's nice to have that extra time. Okay, that's all there is to it, pretty much. Hope you have a good time with the quest, and hope you can defeat the fragment. Before we go though, of course, a huge thank you to all the members who have joined the channel, especially a double huge thank you to Kitty Line, Peepo Time, and OneKiller912 for joining at that top tier. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.